Welcome along to Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen, where it's Chinese Grand Prix weekend. But before we can race, we need to qualify. And who's going to take that coveted pole position? How will our grid line up? We're about to find out. Welcome to qualifying.
Radio check, radio check.
Radio check.
Right, that's us pushed down into P15.
And that's it for sprint qualifying. Plenty more coming up over the rest of the weekend. So we'll see you all tomorrow.
Okay, mate, radio check, please, radio check.
Radio check.
Okay, I'm afraid we've been pushed down to P16. Here are the top 5 cars as things stand. Okay, so the current fastest lap, 1 minute 34.6. Norris, Verstappen, Alonso, Gasly and Leclerc.
And that's it for sprint qualifying. Plenty more coming up over the rest of the weekend. So we'll see you all tomorrow.
Radio check, please. Radio check.
Radio check.
Here's a quick position rundown for you. The top 5 are the fastest lap at the moment, 1:34.1. Verstappen, Tsunoda, Russell, Alonso and Norris.
And that's it for sprint qualifying. Plenty more coming up over the rest of the weekend. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. We're here in the Yangtze River Delta today, home of the 16 corners that make up the Shanghai International Circuit. 54% of this 3.3-mile lap is taken at full throttle, and we'll be getting up to speeds of around 200 miles per hour with DRS assistance down the back straight before the cars brake into the tight hairpin at turn 14. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Yuki Tsunoda completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Russell, Norris, Fernando Alonso, and Albon, Leclerc, Hülkenberg, Mayer, and Pierre Gasly, Sainz, Piastri, Esteban Ocon, and Lawson, Hamilton, Bortoletto, Isaac Hadjar, and Ollie Behrman, Stroll, Antonelli, Doohan, and Aiden Jackson rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. Well, they say that a change is as good as a rest, and whilst there's not much rest on show in the sprint format today, there's definitely a change to what we're usually seeing on the track. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Okay, radio check, radio check.
Radio check.
Okay, Mark here. Let's get another points finish today. I just want to say good luck. We're all counting on you. No rain expected for the time being. decent parking. Let's try and get a good launch as the lights go out. Keep an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid is formed. Be ready with the clutch. Okay, DRS is now available. Okay, be careful with the front wing, you've taken some minor damage. Battery charge is high, let's use that overtake button a bit more. Okay, we think the underbody's incurred some slight damage, but nothing too serious at the moment, just be careful. Okay, I've got a brand new race strategy on your MFD if you want to go and check it out. Understood, copy that. Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track. Look after these tyres now, we want to finish the race on this compound. Damage to the rear wing. You've got damage to your rear wing. looks like we might have an issue. Hang in there, we're attempting to manage it. I can confirm it's an issue with our engine, I'm afraid. Okay, keep an eye on that gap ahead, please. 5.7 seconds. Okay, touch wood, it seems like the fault has resolved itself.
So with the sprint concluded, join us next time for qualifying and of course the main event, this weekend's Formula One Grand Prix. We'll see you next time.